Welcome back everybody to BeamNG.drive. I know it's been a while since I've done a car review on this game, but I have been busy with work and Forza Horizon 5, so that's why. But yeah, still, this is a new mod to the game. It's a Ibishu Prodigy, nothing to do with the band, and yeah, built between 1995 and 2001. This is the 2.2 litre EX automatic version, so yeah, not top of the line, but hardly bottom of the line either, as it has a 2.2 litre double overhead cam inline 4 engine. Now, the stats on this are a little bit iffy in terms of the differences between the variants. They're all the same horsepower, torque, and weight, so yeah, which is a little bit of a shame. I would have liked a bit more detail in that regard. But apparently this weighs 2,866 pounds, which is not a lot for an off-road vehicle like this, especially since it has four-wheel drive as standard and alloy wheels. And yeah, it's all over a very nice mod. I've put this through its paces in my own time, and it's not really put a foot wrong, to be honest. It's really rather quite stable. It's got a lot of parts to it, so there's a lot to break and you know, damage and destroy. And yeah, the interior looks pretty nice as well, all typical 90s in a lot of ways. And yeah, it's even got a spare wheel at the back there, and yeah, this is a split folding tailgate as well that opens outwards, and then the window goes up. So again, that's very nice to see as more damage, and just yeah, creates more havoc. So yeah, as per usual with these reviews, we will swing it around this suspension area, see how much it can take before it breaks. And yeah, then we'll roll it over 3 times, or at least hope to get 3 times consecutively on the rollover sled. Then we'll blow it up, and then we'll put it through a cinder block wall. So yeah, all in the name of seeing what this car is able to deal with. And yeah, it should be pretty tough, as you know, it's an off-road vehicle. It's not the heaviest of things, so it shouldn't have too much weight going through those wheels. But then again, you never know how a mod is going to perform really in comparison to the other more standard vehicles that we've had on this game. So it seems like we've broken some windows already. No, we haven't. It's just the angle of the lighting there. But we've definitely over-revved the engine a little bit by going over those bumps. But there goes something from the front. Yeah, the bumper. Whoa dear. Well, that's a kind of indication of what's going to happen with the rollover test. Come on. But yeah, as you can see, despite that, it's pretty much survived that intact in terms of the mechanicals. Obviously the bodywork has taken a lot of damage, but it's in reasonable shape, all things considered. Right, let's get over here. See what it does with some more wobbles. Ooh. Yeah, the suspension is coils, and I think it looks like it's independent suspension. No leaf springs here. Oh dear. Although the rear end does seem to have a catch or have a lot of bounce to it. It's the first time we've had a car do that. Actually survived one of the toughest parts of this suspension area, so that is good to see. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Yeah, the suspension is quite tough on this car, although the front does look like it's collapsed a little bit. Yeah, that's all very impressive, to be honest. Although, like I said, I think the front right has lost some suspension travel. But being an SUV, it's got quite a high centre of gravity and therefore is susceptible to being rolled over, so as you can see. Oh, there we go again. Yeah, we've bent a rear left wheel there, which is not helpful. And the radiator has blown as well. Even though the wheels aren't exactly in the right position anymore, the car is still easy enough to drive, surprisingly enough. But we will overheat if we don't kill it before the radiator gets too hot. The chassis is now bent a bit, so yeah, one of the front wheels is going to end up sticking up in the air at times. Oh, well, there goes a half shaft, so not got any power going for that wheel anymore. That's a wheel that also lost the suspension earlier on, so that corner has been taking a lot of damage. It is struggling to steer anymore. Oh dear. I don't think we've got the power to get off of here. Oh yeah, we do, surprisingly. Still dragging itself around, despite all of the damage. Yeah, this is one tough vehicle, no doubt about that. Not had many cars on this game deal with this kind of level of damage and still being able to go. Although saying that, I think it's gone now. Nope, the wheel is stopping it. I don't think we have quite enough power to get going under our own power otherwise. Yeah, I think we've lost a bit too much power to deal with the damage that is been incurred on this. It's not going to be able to. Yeah, and its engine's gone anyway. So yeah, but that is one mighty tough vehicle. The car looks a wreck, but you know, I don't even think in safety terms it's really been that compromised. And yeah, despite all of the stuff we've done to it, the only two main issues with this at the moment are the right wheel and the radiator. So yeah, massively impressed by this. So let's get over to the rollover ramp and see how it does there. So as per usual, we'll do 3 consecutive rollovers, taking more and more damage as we do each one. And if you can survive all 3, then it's going to get a pass. It's already gotten a pass for the suspension area, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it passed this as well. But obviously, with SUVs like this, the wheels are quite exposed, especially when it comes to rolling over, because they do hang a bit loose when they're upside down, or they're not being used with the bodywork resting on top. But let's see regardless what happens. So yeah, they're the barrels we're going to blow it up with, and the cinder block wall we're going to put it through eventually. Let's slow it down and see what happens. Well, we've already lost a wheel, which is was the big fear, and that has come true. Sure, the mod isn't perfect. There are some glitch points to the car. I think you see the lights on the rear there merging with the bodywork, but on the whole, this is a very impressive mod, and it's the first SUV mod we've had for a while. I think we had the ETK SUV mod, but I've not seen very many others. Certainly not in terms of road-going vehicles. So yeah, the main issue there was the wheel. Right, let's see how it drives. Yeah, you can see there that it's just lost a lot of the stuff that should hold it on to the rest of the car there. And we are pulling quite severely to the left as well, due to the front wheels being bent. Good thing about an SUV is you can be a bit slower over the ramp there, so you don't have to go quickly to stop it from catching, which does happen with some low-slung vehicles on this game, unfortunately. Right, let's see how it does the second time round. And there goes the other rear wheel. Whatever reason, the front wheels seem to be the tougher set of wheels on this car. And the roof seems to be quite strong as well, which I wasn't expecting, given it's not the heaviest of vehicles, so I figured it would be quite fragile in terms of its safety. Oh, there goes the roof a little bit hard on there. But I guess also with it being so light, that means that it doesn't have much weight to land, force down on the roof. And not being a new vehicle, it's got obviously a fair bit of, pillars going on in there as well. So yeah, but it has survived that second go. So let's see if it can survive the second one, the third one even. Whoops. Right. Do it from this end this time. I do swap ends between goes. Don't know why it's still saying the engine is starved of oil. I don't think we cracked an oil pan. We weren't upside down that long. Somehow that rear right wheel is still got power to it, despite the fact that it's virtually at a 90-degree angle. Let's just pull it off there a little bit. Are we stuck? No, we're not. Right. Third time's the charm. Will it be broken? To be honest, as long as those front wheels survive, this car will still move, because it is all-wheel drive. And it should have enough power to just drive those front wheels, so as long as the front end survives, this should still work. No idea what's keeping that wheel hanging on still. It's the suspension arm that is the only thing holding it on, which is no surprise, that is a big piece of metal. But the rest of the car, the rest of the suspension is completely gone, the springs have gone. The dampers have gone. Let's turn the engine off so we're not starving any more of oil. Do we still move? Yes, we do. That is, yeah, mightily impressive. Usually when a car on this game loses a wheel, doesn't matter front or rear, it's usually undrivable. Despite the fact that both of the rear wheels are perhaps barely hanging on, it still moves. And safety wise, it's a little bit compromised. Not in terms of the driver's fine, but definitely in terms of the passenger. But I feel that's, considering that happened, I think in the second go, that is, yeah, pretty much the only slight against this car. So I'm going to give it a pass, because at the end of the day, the most of the car is still in a survivable condition. It's only that one corner that just so happened to take a big hit, went like that, whereas the rest of it has survived fine. So yeah, let's hit the explosive barrels at 60 miles an hour. Let's see if this can survive a massive explosion. Will we get to 60? Just about. Boom, baby! Well, no surprise that the front wheels have taken a big whack there. Bodywork seems to have mostly held up, all things considering. Gonna land on the rear, yes. Don't think this car's going to be driving very well anymore though. Just a hunch. Yeah. Those front wheels have completely gone. There's no real steering from them at all now. But in terms of safety, that has survived pretty perfectly, to be honest. There's very few cars that have gotten away with that amount of minimal damage on the interior and the bodywork. So, yeah, that is a pass, just in terms of safety. Would have preferred it to have been able to still drive, but very few cars actually do still drive after hitting those barrels. So I'm not going to count it against this car, especially considering how well it's done in terms of safety. Right, now let's do the cinder block wall at the same speed. Let's hope we can get up to the same kind of speed. No, we can't. Right, let's try again. Let's get a bigger run up. Guess I underestimated the kind of speed that this car has going on. Certainly not the quickest of cars, but it's not meant to be. Oh dear, sorry, I accidentally pressed the wrong button. Let's try that again. Third time's the charm, eh? Yeah, I pressed the Windows key, which obviously makes the window that you currently have open smaller. Right, see what this looks like. Perfecto. Then again, very few vehicles have actually failed this test, but it's always interesting to see what happens when you hit an immovable object straight on. Well, I say immovable, obviously it moves, but it's not an object that is in the motion of movement, and it's not one that, you know, has any safety features of its own. It's just a brick wall. Something that you might well hit, but it is an unlikely scenario, but it is one that, if it happens, you really need the safest vehicle you've got, especially in terms of the roof and the windscreen, which have both held up. They've not had any of the bricks intrude in via that manner, and yeah, the rest of the car has held up nicely. Radiator's gone, obviously, and it's lost some bodywork, but outside of the brick impeding our movement, there we go. Still drives. Pulse to the right, but at least it still moves, and yeah. No, the wheels have fallen off. So yeah, overall this car's impressed. Gone with flying colours through this whole test so far. 4 out of 4. Not had many cars do that for a while. So yeah, nonetheless, let's get onto the crash hall and see how this deals with 30, 40 and 60 mile an hour small overlap crashes. Right, so here we are at the crash hall. So I have no idea how this is going to perform, because it's obviously quite a large vehicle in some respects, but then it's not particularly heavy. It's not particularly new either, so could go either way. It shouldn't fail the 30 mile an hour impact. I don't think very few cars actually have, to be honest, so yeah, this should be no different in that regard. Let's see what happens. So yeah, it's got quite a decent bonnet length, and even though it's not the newest of vehicles, it should do well, and it has. The front has taken the damage there, and the rest of the car hasn't, which is, yeah, nice to see. The interior is still fine. For the most part, though, there is some intrusion into the footwell there, but on the whole, yeah, that has done well. So let's see what happens at 40. Which I know doesn't sound like a big increase, but there has been some very noticeable differences in other cars. I expect this to be no different. Considering there was some footwell intrusion into the before with the tyre. Actually, that's done pretty well. There is some signs of failure imminent though when we hit 60, but yeah, on the whole that's done well. I say imminent looks because the door did slightly bow out then. As you can see, there is a bit of a gap, and the roof does look like it's starting to bend. You can see the door doesn't line up quite as well anymore. There is more of the wheel into the footwell this time, and there's definitely some more damage on the interior as well, but still, on the whole, that has done well. So that is another pass. So this car is currently on 6 out of 6, which is very impressive indeed. So let's see if it can make it 7 out of 7 by going at 60. Seems about lined up there. Oh no. Failure. Disastrous failure. Even though the car hasn't completely gone out of shape, it definitely has gone out of shape in comparison to the previous tests. And yeah, but more critically, the front driver's seat has bent to the right and gone forward, and it's also come right into contact with the steering wheel, which has also come forward and gone to the right. So yeah, any chance of the seat bag, airbag doing any being helpful at all is pretty much completely removed there, because not only the driver moving, but the steering wheel is moving, and yeah, they're not even really moving in the same direction. As yeah, the seat has twisted to the right, but not quite enough, and the steering wheel has drastically moved over to the right as well. So yeah, that is a big failure, and you can tell how much of the energy is transferred through the interior of the car and the bodywork, because the tailgate has opened, the rear left passenger door has opened, and yeah, the chassis has walked quite a heavy amount as well. So yeah, that is unfortunately a failure, but to be honest, only one failure out of 7 tests so far is really impressive. Not had many cars do that before. So yeah, let's nonetheless get onto the highway, see how this deals with a 60-mile-an-hour impact against 2 similarly sized and weighted vehicles, and then one that really isn't. Right, so here we are at the highway. So the first car we're going to go up against is the Hirochi Sunburst. It's only 33 pounds heavier than this, and it's around the same kind of age as well. So yeah, this should be interesting, especially considering they're completely different kind of cars. This is a front-wheel drive kind of economy car, and we're obviously an all-wheel drive SUV. So yeah, who's going to come out on top? Now, the risk with an SUV like this Prodigy is the chassis catching on anything on the opposing vehicle and rolling over. Luckily that's not happened today, and yeah, we've passed that fairly well. Certainly better than the Hirochi Sunburst has done, which is, yeah, had its door crumpled up, the roof warped, and yeah, the steering wheel pushed forward, whereas that has not really happened here. Sure, the steering wheel has moved, which is some concern, but the rest of the car seems to have held up pretty well. The concern there, though, is that the driver and the passengers and anyone or inside is going to be taking the hit there and not the car, because a lot of the energy seems to have been transferred into the car. Again, exemplified by the fact that the tailgate has popped open. But yeah, on the whole, that is a pass. So yeah, let's see if we can deal with something a little bit lighter than we are. So we went for something a little bit heavier, so let's see if we can find something a little bit lighter. How much are you? You're more, so can't do that one. Pezima. Is there a lighter version than 288? I think that might be the lightest version, to be honest. Yeah, they all get pretty heavy down the bottom. That's a bit of a shame. Look like the kind of perfect vehicle. What about the Saga? It's a fellow Ibishu. Should be lighter, surely. It's the same weight. Alright, we'll go with something that's the same weight then. Again, though, I do think this is like the Prodigy in terms of its stats. Not entirely accurate, but we'll go with it. We'll see what happens. Right, who's going to come out on top this time round? We are, definitely. Ow. Yeah, the Saga is obviously older than we are. But it's also lower, and I think the height of the Prodigy here is what's helping it. Because the tougher stuff is higher up. Or lower down even. One or the other. Yeah, lower down, and the softer stuff is up top. Which again is exemplified by the fact that the bonnet is not really getting damaged. Not really been curled up or anything, so that means that the engine, the chassis, the axle, the wheels and the like are the ones taking the damage there, and not the rest of the car, which is, yeah, why it's only really the steering wheel that is moving, to be honest, because that's connected to the front, and that's what's taking all of the damage. So, yeah, that is another pass. Right, we're going to have to give this a much more tougher challenge. I think a much larger version of the SUV that we've been testing is the appropriate response here. So let's go for the Roma. Let's see what an American SUV can do versus a Japanese SUV. And we'll go for obviously a heavyweight, because that's what we do on this series. We go for two similar sized vehicles and weighty vehicles, and then one that is much larger and much heavier. So we've got 5324 there. 5335. 5875. Yeah, we'll go for that. Not quite twice the weight, but it's getting there. And it is a lot taller than we are. Much bigger engine up front as well, which is going to be like a battering ram to this car. And it's got the bull bar at the front as well. Oh! To be honest, I expected that to perform worse. It's not performed well, and it's certainly a fail, but I was expecting the car to be peeled back like a tin can, and that just hasn't happened. The Roma, surprisingly, has not been able to punch right the way through the Ibishu. The Roma's pretty much gotten away with that fine. Come on, you can separate. No, you're not wanting to? Shame, I wanted to see what the Roma was properly like there. Looked like it was going to, but it's not. Oh, well, we'll just have to separate that manually. So, yeah, has gone a little bit spiky in terms of the mod here, but that was quite an extreme test. You know, 60 mile an hour against something that's nearly twice your weight is quite a heavy impact there. But yeah, despite the massive differences there, not performed as badly as I expected, but still it is a fail. But nonetheless, we've had an 8 out of 10 car here. Way better than I was expecting it to, considering its age and its relatively lightweight. But it's really tough in terms of its underneath stuff, and yeah, surprisingly safe as well in terms of bodywork and passenger and driver safety. So yeah, really impressive mod. Really enjoy this, and it's on the BeamNG forum. So get out there and get it yourself and enjoy crashing it and playing around with it. But nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.